Hey everyone, we are so back. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be building an AI language companion app that helps you learn languages through chatting with it. And we're going to build it almost entirely using AI itself. So stay tuned. Hey everyone, how's it going? It's been a while since I last did a video. I think it must have been maybe 3 or 4 years since I last did YouTube. In between, obviously, been busy, but yeah, I just wanted to start this video creation process again. I'm currently in between 2 roles. And thought it'd be a good opportunity to film some videos. I love the creation process. I love building stuff. I love recording it and the video piece and just kind of the whole craftsmanship behind both creating a project, trying to find ways to make it maybe a bit entertaining, a bit useful, and then publishing it in the whole kind of video and editing piece. Obviously, anything I do now is not representative of any of my employers. What I'd be looking to do today is as you know, LLMs are very good in English for most providers. A lot of the internet is in English. Now there's a lot of different providers and looking to make LLMs much better at different languages. For example, Spanish tends to already be quite well classified and covered through the internet, but there's providers like Mistral and other communities and companies looking to make LLMs much better in a multitude of different languages. How do you democratize access to languages? And let's make a chatbot that you can speak to in any language, and it responds both in English as well as a preferred language, so you can kind of have a conversation. So we'll start that. As you know, I like to make these kind of long videos just to film the whole kind of creative process. No need to watch all of this. But yeah, without further ado, maybe we get a start on this. So yeah, I'll start off by what I typically do, which is, as you know here, we're going to be using very basic tools. I think in one of my last videos, I used PowerPoint to make 2D animations for cartoons and apps. But we're just going to start off on a template, and I'd like to really just define what our goal is here. So what our goal is here is to make a LLM language learning app. And I've just thought of a name like Duo LLM. So it's like Duolingo, but Duo LLM. Obviously no connection to Duolingo, just a fun name, and this is all open source and everything, and not representing any copyright or anything. But the goal is of this large LLM language learning app is to allow users to speak in a desired language, select a learning language they want to receive responses in, and then receive. So then send a message to the LLM and receive back an answer in both the desired learning language and then underneath in the base language, example English. So yep, that's pretty much it. The point here is going to be to be able to have conversations in almost 2 languages where you feel like you're speaking to a native speaker, but you also get to understand kind of what they're saying through the process, kind of better understand it. So some tools we're going to use is Flask. This is just a Python backend that I'm used to using, and it allows us to build things quite quickly. Heroku is an app platform that we can kind of get set up with quite quickly that I've used before. The Mistral client, so for the LLM itself, we're not going to be building an LLM here. We're going to be using the Mistral one, which is a company that based out of Paris that supports a lot of different European languages and has some of the leading LLMs with respect to this. So we're going to be using some of those, which I've used a lot in the past and I'm very excited about. So we'll just be using their client for this video. Flask, Heroku, Mistral, and I'm going to be using Cursor as my IDE. It's an AI-enabled code editor, and I've been using it for some personal projects and finding really interesting. So those are some of the tools that I'll be using. And yeah, without further ado, maybe let's get started. So first step is I'm going to be opening up a terminal window. So this is just my kind of local directory. I'm going to change directory to the desktop, change it to the projects page, and I'm going to make a directory and call it Duo LLM. Okay, I might have to delete this because I was doing a test run before, but I'll create the directory Duo LLM, and I'll just change directory to it, and then I'll do code dot, which opens it up in my cursor window. So there you can see I have it opened up. Let's get started. So first things first is I'm just going to create an app.py file. This is going to be the base file. I'm also going to use a virtual environment. So a virtual environment is just a way that we can kind of isolate the code here in the packages, and so that when I install a package, it doesn't install it all on my computer. It's just that we kind of create a bit of a bubble for this project. So I'm going to be creating that virtual environment. Just take a sip of water while that loads. And as you can see, it's created my virtual environment here. And then I'm going to activate this virtual environment, which means to initiate it pretty much. So I run v bin activate. And there you go. As you can see, this has changed because we're now in the virtual environment. Cool. So my workflow here for these projects is not necessarily what you should maybe do in production with your company, etc. But I want to give a glimpse not only into the projects, but how my AI kind of workflow adapts. So I've been starting to try to use a lot this kind of sidebar that's from Cursor, which is very cool. It's like having your LLMs assisting you on the sidebar. And so for now, unfortunately, they don't have the Mistral ones available, but that might be subject to change soon. But I'll be just using the GPT-4 one. What's great about Cursor is that you can enable the privacy mode, so none of the files, etc. leave. If you use a custom endpoint, for example, as well, it means that no data goes to Cursor itself, and it just goes to my GPT-4o endpoint, which I also have that it doesn't store the data afterwards for retraining and everything. So, so making it as secure as possible. One other thing to do here is that you can create a .git ignore. And we're going to be just including some of the a .env. So this is going to be the kind of where we put kind of secure credentials. And so I just want to make it very clear here that that no credentials should be stored pretty much. So there you go. We just created put this git ignore, and there is also an ignore file for Cursor itself. So I just have to look here. I think it's in features, and here you have like the code indexing. I'll explain that in a second, but you can actually create a Cursor ignore file, and so I'll just be putting this here as well. Cool. So that should ignore any private kind of keys or anything that we store in this file. So should relieve some of it. Again, I'm not liable if anything happens to your projects, etc. Please do your own research. But there's obviously always ways to make things a little bit more secure. Cool. So now that we have that set up, one thing I want to mention before I start is here on the left-hand side, I can start prompting and asking questions. What's really cool about Cursor is it takes the context of the code that you've written and adds it into the prompt before sending it. And also, if you do command enter instead of enter here into the chat, it does embeddings and indexes all of your code base here, except those ignored files, and then also finds the relevant pieces through kind of a RAG system, and then sends it over. So it can basically use snippets of your code and reply with where to put things in different files, not just one file at a time. So cool. What we're going to start off with is very simple, and we're going to try this as a version 1 of this AI enabled flow. So I'm just going to start off saying, I want to build the following app in Flask. And what I'm going to say here is, please create an app.py Flask endpoint Flask file, which has a chat endpoint calling the Mistral AI client, and saying, and also an index.html file which allows a user to submit a message in a language drop-down of choice and receive an answer after calling the Flask API via Mistral in the language selected. Use a AI chat-like modern interface for the front end. And this is by far not going to be the end of it. There's still quite a bit more. I've probably put quite a bit into this initial prompt. But last thing is that there's a bit of a knowledge cutoff for these LLMs when it comes to these libraries. And so what I'm going to do as well is, there's probably nicer ways of doing this, but I'm just going to go to the Mistral docs for the Mistral client, as you can see here. And I'm going to, you should probably read through this thoroughly. I've already done so, but you can kind of just Command A, and we're going to just tell it exactly what it's like. So here we're going to say, this is the Mistral docs for reference. So now I've just pressed enter, and we're just going to let it do its thing. So here we can see it started and initialized the app.py piece. So we're just going to paste it in here, and obviously review thoroughly all of the code that it creates. That goes without saying, especially for production applications. And here is the index.py file. So one thing that you index.html file. So one thing you want to just be very conscious of, and this is why obviously it still requires a little bit of human input, is that it doesn't tell me exactly here, or at least I can see that with Flask you have to create a templates folder. So when I create an index.html file, which is the front end, I have to create a templates folder. So I'm just going to put that there. And yeah, now I can try and run it. It's probably not going to run, which I'll show you in a second how to fix. But I just do python 3 app.py, and there we go. So it says that there's certain things that are not installed, like Flask. So we'll do pip install Flask. We'll also do, we'll look up here, Mistral AI. There we go. And one other thing is that we're gonna try to save this into a requirements.txt file. So this just allows us that next time that we have to download these, we have them stored somewhere. So we do pip freeze requirements.txt. And there you see that it's created this here, and it has our packages and sub kind of packages installed as well. Cool. So now let's run it. And there you go. You have our first version of our Duo LLM. We can try and press hi and see what it gives us. And here it says no API key found. And that's because we haven't created that .env file. So what I'm going to do now is say adjust this file. So if I'm in the current file, it's going to use this as a reference. Adjust this file to load the Mistral API key from a .env. So it's saying that we have to install python.env. What I always do here is always check here to see if the package that it's suggesting for you to use is the legitimate one. So here we can see that it has quite a lot of stars. If we go to the GitHub repo as well, it should be also the legitimate one, which we go here. I've already kind of looked at this previously, and I've used this for a lot of projects, so I know this is the legitimate one. But always make sure that you double, triple check any installations that LLMs are telling you to when installing something. So we'll go back here, and we'll do again pip install python.env, and then you want to run again this freeze requirements.txt to make sure that it's stored here as well for future usage. Cool. So it's given us some things to update here. I could just copy paste it. I also know here that it's done the changes just here. So you load the .env here. You send load from the .env file here as well. And the API key, you just stay the same, and it's going to be just like this. Now, I'm just going to pause for a second. If you've gotten this far, congratulations and awesome. I'm going to pause for a second because obviously I'm recording. The next step is to create a .env file. So as you can see here, as you've seen from cursor.ignore as well as .gitignore, we've made sure to ignore this so that no private credentials are here. But this is like your most secure and important file, .env. It's where all of your security credentials are stored, and it's what you don't push into the cloud, into your repos, etc. So I'm going to pause the video, and I'm going to be getting my Mistral API key, which you can get from going to Mistral and going to Le Platform, and then to your API keys. So I'll pause there, and we'll continue in a second. Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm back again. Hope you didn't miss me too much. What I just did for reference is I went to the .env file and I updated a key that said Mistral API key equals, and then I updated it to my credentials after going to Le Platform and updating it with my API key. Note that this will incur a small cost. Obviously, depends on your usage and everything. So do this at your own in your own regard and everything. I had kind of the Mistral Le Platform API key already set up, but you'll have to kind of go through that process in order to make the use of it, and you have to go kind of to API keys. And so feel free to use obviously your LLM of choice. I've used the Mistral ones because of their performance on different languages. So if I go back here, now that I've updated it, let's test this out, right? We've basically used AI across this whole application so far, and we can just do python3 app.py, and we click here, and look, here we have our first version of app. Not very pretty. We'll be working on that, don't worry. But if I say hi there, it says, it replies here saying, hello, how are you doing today? If I try in French, let's see if it responds. So it's saying hello again, but there's something maybe off here. So let's start with the part that's wrong of just the logic, and then we can start then going into more of the design and everything. So what I want to say here is the drop down of languages is not working correctly. I want it so that when a user selects language from the drop down, the Mistral model is then told to respond in that desired language. So let's see what it comes up with here. It'll probably just change the prompt. So here we say, so the user message, this is the base language, etc. So it doesn't seem like it's changed the prompt yet. And so I'll just say, change the add this instruction as a prompt together with the user message before sending this to the LLM API. So let's see what it says. So it gets the language, it has the prompt, it says this is the base, and then I believe that the prompt is actually going to be injected in the index.html. But maybe just in case, we can just say here, this should be included in the API in app.py. So here, respond in learning language, and then it says user message. And what we can say here as well is maybe, hey everyone, how's it going? I'm back. Just wanted to say here and follow up is we've now prompted it and asked it to update the app.py to respond with a better prompt, and it's also here updated the prompt construction to happen on the API in the backend. I'm just gonna say here as well, make it so the prompt uses strong language, like only respond in this language to ensure it always works. So just going to, as after reading that prompt, I saw that it said to kind of respond in that language, but just using that, maybe a bit of prompt engineering to really make sure that we're getting everything correct here. So we've seen here, please respond only in this language. So we can now copy this over. We've seen all of this code up until now, so not many differences apart from the prompt and obviously the language being used here. And so the learning language is being put here, and here it returns the response or base response here as well. So what we can do here as well is ask it in the prompt itself to give it in both languages. So we want to adjust the prompt so that we get a response from the LLM in the base language. So there's maybe various ways of doing this, where we could ask the LLM to give us in one response both the base language version and the English version. What I'm going to do here is adjust the code so that once you get the response in the base language, call the Mistral client again and ask it to translate the response into English. So we get the base response version that we can return to the user as well. So I've probably made that a little bit more wordy, but in the meantime, we can also copy the index.html piece. So that now has extracted some of the prompting that went on here. And in terms of response here, as we can see, we get the prompt, we get the response, then we have the translation, please translate the following text to English, and then it gives it here. What I might ask it in terms of the prompt is, in all of your prompts, ensure that, and maybe one thing that I'll step back and break the fourth wall here, it may not necessarily always be a good idea to only speak and prompt all of your code changes. But the reason that sometimes it can be a good idea is that to the new messages I send here, some of the content that I've put in the responses up until now in this chat is being fed to in some of the calls to the API, I believe. So it's using all of this context to fuel my future code. And just out of practical experience, if I then go and do a small change here sometimes, I then have to inform the chat that that's what I've done as well. So I'll just say, in all of your prompts, ensure that the prompt contains a note saying to only respond with the answer and no other words. So we'll change that there. And we'll just wait there. I believe that the index.html file hasn't changed at all majorly, as we can see here. So I might just copy this over just to make sure if there's any tiny changes. So there we go. The prompt should have now changed, and it says, please translate the following text to English and only with the answer, no other words. So we can now go into app.py. We restart this and let's test it out. So that should be some of the base logic done. So I do hi and I get hello. I do hi in French and I get salut. And I do hi in Spanish and I get hola. And let's try hi, how are you doing? And one thing that we might find is that once you translate, a translation might not be one per one, and there's some level of subjectivity to a translation. So that's what I'd like to see here. It's hi, how are you doing? My name is Nick. I live in London. So let's try that out in Spanish. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Mi nombre es Nick, vivo en Londres. And it says, hello, how are you doing? My name is Nick, I live in London. Because this is quite simple, I might get the same thing across all of them. Hello, I'm good, thank you. Nice to meet you, Nick from London. So as you can see, it's slightly different, and it might be also, it's hard for me in French to know if it's exactly the exact right translation. But as you can see here, it's a little bit different, and it maybe helps with understanding the language a little bit more. And if I do it in English, it should be the exact same thing. Cool. So that's pretty much it, and that seems like it's done it quite well. My only problem in why this maybe doesn't look so nice and useful is because of the interface. And I think the interface influences so much of the user experience. It is the user experience. So let's now start working on the interface piece and ask it, make the index.html feel much more like an AI chat interface, where you have most of the screen being a chat experience. User messages are in message bubbles on the left hand side, and the bot response is in a message bubble on the right hand side. Make the UI super minimalistic and modern in dark/gray mode, and add the title nice and big but modern of Duo LLM. A language companion Duo LLM at the top with a sub description of a language learning companion powered by AI. The drop down should also be centered at the very top below the subtitle. Cool. This is maybe quite a lot to pack into an LLM prompt. So typically I'd like to do one step at a time, but if it gets anything wrong, we can obviously adjust that as well. So let's see what it comes back with. Still kind of spewing this out, so we'll wait and see. And yeah, let's copy it over, and we can paste it here. So we'll see, and cool. See, it's changed quite a lot. I see here that there's maybe a little bit of a formatting issue, so we can make this a little bit higher. I see also there's a bit of a issue with the background, so we can change some of this, but I'll just put high here. And it says it here in both languages. So there's several formatting issues here, but we're making a lot of progress already. So I'll say I can still see a white background. Make all backgrounds the existing gray color. Also, make the screen scrollable. So we're waiting to have that there. Cool, so we'll copy this over. One thing I really like about this workflow is the fact that you can kind of test, adjust, and wrong file. Test, adjust, and just rerun very quickly. So the feedback loops are very tight, which is great. So I think there might be an error within some of this. So that isn't scrollable, which is weird. Scrollable, and make the whole screen scrollable on the y-axis. So I can scroll up and down and not see white in the background. Okay, it's working its magic. This still maybe looks a bit off, so I can make it so that it's a lot wider. We'll wait until it's back. And already, yeah, that looks quite cool. I might ask it to make this a little bit wider as well. One thing as well as I'm seeing is that I have to click here, send, instead of pressing enter. And then I'd like this to kind of come here and then have a small translation below, but for that to be a lot more subtle. So we copy here, we paste it in here. So that doesn't seem to have worked. I'm gonna maybe suggest for it to make the HTML background that color. Make the whole HTML background be the background gray color, and add much more padding to the top and bottom of the page. And another thing that you can do here to be more efficient, I've obviously put it so that it gives me the full response, but you can also say to only give you the specific code snippets. So that's one thing that maybe within this workflow, and as we go improving, that's something that I could obviously do to change. So let's change, let's copy this and apply it. Cool. And so here, that's a lot better, as you can see, and we can scroll up and down. Hi there. Cool. So that already is working a lot better. I'm now going to ask, make the drop-down language selector be much wider, and include the drop-down icon inside of this. Also, make the background not white, but a slight gray color. Also, make each language selector of the drop-down have its emoji flag included, and add many more languages like Chinese, German, etc. And obviously I can't ensure that it's going to be amazing at these languages, maybe especially Chinese, but hopefully there's a lot of information on the internet already on these languages. So we'll wait and let it do its thing. And give it a second. Obviously, with some things, I'm also thinking with this message that the LLM, even after prompting and prompting, you may not be able to get past a certain solution. So we'll wait and see and test if we can fix that piece as well. Okay, so we can copy this over, paste it. Cool, that's already looking very sweet and polished. So let's try with Spanish, and I'm like, hi there, and send. And it says hola and hello. We still have this icon here, which I'm not loving. I think we can just get rid of that. So let me see where the icon is. Drop down. So we have the selector here, subtitle, language, chat container. What I can do here as well is I'll just select here and see what the div select is. And I'll just say here, maybe I'll look at the after. Remove the div.select after. Maybe I'll tell it to do a couple more things here. So remove the div select after and make it so that when I click enter in the message box, the message is form is sent so that I can get a response. Cool, so we're letting it do its thing, and then the only thing after is probably just going to be to right align this. I'm trying to think how to best have this, maybe in italics right under, and also we'd want to kind of make these chat message banners or backgrounds just be the same size as the actual message. So we'll wait to get the response here. Index.html, cool, reload. So we still seem to be getting that, which we can maybe, I mean, it's not the end of the world. We can maybe try after. And I say hi there. Cool, so entering works now. And one thing I'll say now is I'm getting the message boxes are not correctly aligned. Those from the user look good as they are left. They are located at the very left of the screen, but the bot response messages should be to the right of the screen. Fix this as it's important. So just adding that extra emphasis here to make sure that this is right aligned. I might also create a new prompt so that this right message here is put below, maybe in a small kind of italic or something. Obviously, you also could use some of these kind of more like these features that are, I think, called like GPT, etc., to create something like this. But this is more of just a fun project, so we can see how it is, and I think making a kind of nice user interface to it. So we'll copy this, we'll put this here. Let's see. Cool. So now we're getting it there. The make it so all message boxes only take the horizontal space they require. It still should have a maximum length of the yeah, that's actually, let's just put that for now. Cool. So we have this here. Let's just do the classic, and we paste this in here. We reload. We say hi. And then this is actually not good because it's right after. So we say no. Now the no. The messages shouldn't be next to each other as you would have in an inline block. They have to behave as blocks, but the message box should only have the width of the message. So it's just CSS stuff that if this is an easy way to make it so that it's only takes the space it needs, but then you get all of these next to it, so it's doesn't look super nice. So let's see if it's been able to fix it, and it's still going. So we'll let it go through its whole thing. I'll probably speed through this so that you don't have to look through it. Cool. So we paste it in here. We go hi there. Cool, and there we go. We have it right there, and these are pretty far apart, but we can make it maybe so that it's like maximum width. Make it so and we'll just look at what the name is here of the box. Make it so the container has a max width of, I think this is pretty good max width, but maybe we can stretch it out a little bit more. Has a max width of let's see how much this is. I'm not able to properly see. I think it says it may be in computed. So 760 plus 20 plus 20, so of 800. Of 800 always. Then the other thing that we wanted to say is also the base response shouldn't be in its own message bubble, but instead should be closely below the response message and be in a light gray color, smaller text, and in italics as an explainer. Cool. So we're letting it do its course, and we're probably pretty close to finishing this app then. That's how easy it is pretty much to make this kind of Duo LLM, and you should be able to speak to this and get a nice response. We'll maybe look at like centering this text, for example, but that should be pretty easy. So we'll do some of those kind of small changes at the very end. Let's see if this fixes it. Hi there. Hello. How are you doing? And let's do it in Spanish. I'll just say, make the base language Spanish. Also center the text in the user dropdown. Also include a flag not inside but to the left of the response message indicating what language it's in. Cool. So that maybe adds to the interface a little bit. Or maybe here, we'll try what it looks like inside and then outside. But yeah, that should pretty much be it. And it means that we can probably switch languages mid-conversation. I'd also maybe like the message box to be, the input box to be a little bit bigger. Okay, so we paste it in, we click on it and say, is that centered? That doesn't look centered to me. So maybe if you do, display flex or align. Maybe even if you do text align. No, it doesn't seem to have centered that. I'll come back to it with that feedback, but if we do hi there. Cool, so it's returned that. It hasn't done some of the other changes here, and this is maybe kind of why you should kind of tell it to go one at a time. Make the base language Spanish in the dropdown by default, and then also center the text selected in the user dropdown to be in the middle in terms of x-axis, so center aligned in the dropdown. Cool. So we're pretty much almost there, and as you can see, it's really nice looking. I'll maybe add one more thing here. It's probably too late to tell it to stop. Which I'll say, make the user input message box a bit taller, the font size a bit larger and more padding. Make it adjust the button size accordingly. And then I might make the header and subheader a little bit bigger. So this is what's great about just this LLM powered workflow is you get to really do things as a product manager, as a designer, and it really simplifies the whole kind of flow, doesn't it? So let's try this out. So Spanish, it hasn't really centered that nicely still. Pattern auto. So it's this padding right that's kind of killing it. So we have to maybe just remove this padding right. Padding. So maybe we can just do remove the padding from ID language. Remove the padding from ID equals language. Make it full. And then make the title and subtitle bigger. And let's see if we do hi there. Cool, that already looks a lot more modern and nice, so that's pretty good. How are you doing? So that's a pretty cool app. You just select the language and you can start speaking, and hopefully in different languages. Where are you from? I'm from the digital universe. So maybe you could even add another prompt so it's better for language learning. I'm also seeing here maybe it's not as kind of scrollable, and so we maybe want to enforce a certain padding. But yeah, it's getting a lot better already. So let's do some final tweaks here. We'll see here, Duo LLM, a language learning powered experience powered by AI, companion powered by AI. I'll say maybe to increase padding in the container. Also make it so the screen always has a decent padding even when the container becomes the screen always has a decent padding top and bottom even when the container becomes very big vertically. And maybe here we want like a max width. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, that was actually pretty nice when we did that. 150, no, maybe 200. And there was maybe something off here, yeah. So the padding right. That still hasn't been fixed. So we can say, what if we did padding 0? Yep, so we can just say add to ID equals language the following CSS. So it's regenerating all the code. And I just copy here, I paste here. Hi there. Hola. How are you doing? Estoy bien. And then I switch to French and I say, where do you live? I live in the digital world. And as you can see here, if I scroll up and down, it still has some padding space. It's not working perfectly here. And so we'll see how I can maybe improve that. Now, maybe I have to jump in a little bit and say that there's always like a margin top of like 100px and see what happens. So that's maybe not necessarily working. Let's maybe try 500. Yeah, so maybe I always need a margin top. So add a margin top. But if I add a margin top of 500 now, it's probably just gonna sink quite a little bit. So maybe I want to do it in a smarter way. To say, if the container gets larger than the screen height, then set the container margin top to 500. It's not maybe the cleanest way, but I'm starting to really like what this looks like already. So what's your name? The only thing that I might want to say here is that right now it doesn't remember what you said to it before. So maybe it's not the best way to follow a conversation. But one thing we can do is maybe ask it so that it always sends the full conversation into the prompt, which is maybe a last addition that we want to do here as well. So we'll wait for this full change here. Hi there. Or maybe put it here now. So we just say, currently, every new message is independent. Adjust the prompt so that the whole conversation is given to the LLM with each new message, not including the base response, but make it super clear in the prompt. This is only to give context to the conversation, but the LLM should only respond in the desired output language to the direct message. So we'll do that there, and let's just put here, how are you? Gut, danke. Tell me about yourself. And then I'll put it in Italian. Sono assistente virtuale per... so it says, I'm a virtual assistant designed to help you and provide you with information. So it knows very well. It's maybe not supposed to tell me about itself. So here, just the JavaScript to include the entire conversation. Actually, what I did wrong here was I was using just the index.html. Here, I'll reprompt it here so it says it. You could also use something much nicer like LangChain. I've just done it kind of the vanilla method, but feel free to change anything that you need here as well. So here it's still loading. It's just continuing to create the prompt, the response. maybe cancel the generation. I'll just start it again. Okay, cool. So here it's added some logic so that it adds the message and the prompt all together in the conversation history. And let's see if that maybe changes anything. But I think it's basically returned everything except the last piece. So we'll just add it here. It's actually just told me how to redefine this method. So cool, let's try that out. And let's see. How are you? What did I just ask you? So I think maybe I prompted this wrong, and but make it super clear the prompt. This is only to give Gonzas, but the LLM should only respond to the direct message and as before in the desired drop down language. It's a bit nicer when it's in that kind of small screen. I think what we could do is here in the container max width, maybe we do 600. What happens if we do 400? So yeah, it's not maybe following. I think maybe you have to insert it here and then we do important. Cool. Maybe 1,000 is still okay, actually. Okay, so we'll change app.hi here. Hi there. What's your name? Let me check what the prompt is, I think. Please translate the following text to English. Please. Here's the conversation for contracts. Please respond only to the direct message. Respond like a language learning companion or a friend, but in the desired language. Cool. So I think the way that it's done here maybe is not the best. I would rather make this. Here's the conversation history for context, and then to the prompt, I then add this here. Cool, let's try that out. Hi there. What's your name? So here's where we start to get some issues on the full prompting. So we say, please respond in only the learning language. So we say here, respond as you were a large language. So we will create this prompt here. We'll add these three here. We say, please respond only and respond as if you were a friend. User message to respond to only. Here, you are a helpful language companion. Here's the conversation history for context. And so it adds all of the messages. And so I think maybe as well, what I might have missed here is that there was a conversation history maybe added here. So I'll see if there is a conversation history. Yep, so it maybe adds it here. And so maybe that's what I needed to update. And so here, I added that max width, but this is what I meant, that it's good to change it just through prompts typically. But hi there. And so maybe it hasn't been used properly. Hi there. What's your name? Make the prompt much clearer. Currently, it's giving me the wrong response, as it just responds with a translated version of the user message. Instead, change this, but leave the base response the same. The main prompt, so that it tells the LLM that it is a useful language companion that has a role to have a nice conversation with the user, but always replies in the desired language. Change the prompt to start with the convo context and then request it to respond in the desired language, as if they were a language companion friend. Re-emphasize how important it is to respond like a friend in the desired language and give no other response. Cool, so that's pretty much it. Let's update index.html, and then let's also update app.py. And there we go. Hi there. How are you? What did you just tell me? Cool, so now it has memory, which is great. And let's switch to French. And the only limitation here is there might be a limit. And as you go on, it'll probably go a little bit slower. So we'll just say, where do you live? What did I just tell you? And before that? Cool, so it says it in French as well. So cool, there you go. Duo LLM, our nice little bot. And the only thing that I might change, which it didn't seem to respond to, was that once it gets bigger, that it should make the container 500px. So let me make it. My ultimate goal is that as the combo gets bigger, the container is getting too big, and I always want a piece of background / padding / margin when I scroll to the very top. Also add max width 1000, important. To the CSS of the container. Cool, so there we go. Hi there. What's your name? What did I just tell you? What did I just tell you? And before that? And where are you from? So it still isn't able to have that kind of top piece, which is annoying, because it's pretty scrollable apart from that. I still have the container at the very top when I scroll up. This is super important. Please make it so there is a minimum of 400px above the container at any time, whilst maintaining that initial centering when the container is not very big. So we can look here to see what the changes that were done actually were. And here it's like margin top 500 if the outer height increases past the window height. Maybe it has to be a bit smaller. I can just play around maybe even here. And so it has to be bigger than 500. So maybe it has to be proportional. So if it's bigger, then you just have to make it container to outer height. String plus x. Hi there. How are you? What's your name? What did I just tell you? Okay, so that doesn't seem to be working, and we can look here to see the margin top is that high there. We can try what their solution is here now as well. Yeah, that's just pushed it to the bottom, which is not good. Now the container is no longer vertically centered. Container is not bigger than the vertical height. Fix this. Okay, so that always remains, which is fun, but it just has to be added a lot sooner. So let's wait. It's super important. I fix this. Make it so it was like it was before, but when the vertical container height exceeds the vertical screen height, view height of the screen, then it adds 500 px as margin. Okay, cool. Let's use the response that the LLM gave here. And we return. and it's still not exactly centered, which isn't great. Let's look at what solution they got here. So we look here, if the container is greater than this margin top, if not, it looks at the difference and then it adds it to the top. Let's see what happens if we just comment that out. And we return, and it goes to there, and if we do hi there, how are you, what's your name, where are you from? And so, yeah, it's added that there. So maybe it has to look more like that. But and so it's still much higher. You see it says margin top is 500 plus the maximum between the window height and the container height. Maybe window height isn't the correct term here. Is window correct term for the visible width of the screen? Let's maybe try this again. Here it needs a lot more. 500 rem, 5 rem, 50 rem, 200 rem, 100 rem. So if I keep clicking H, so maybe adjust it to add not only add 500 px when the window height is bigger, but also add more and more height according to the amount of messages. Make this higher according to the amount of messages sent always. Okay, we look at this, and this else statement was a bit unneeded, so look better like this. I'm gonna say hi there. Okay, so maybe it's a bit of a lost cause, but that's quite frustrating. Maybe it just has to increase by more every time, but so the message increment says 40, but this is more like 70, and this one is 70 and 44, so 70 plus 44 is 114. So maybe 114 divided by 2, but let's try this out. Read index.html. This is the most up-to-date file. Okay, let's see if we got it. Hi. H. Nice. I think we got it. Okay, it's getting close now. So maybe it succeeded. But it's gotten pretty good. And what I might do is I might just do 150, just because then it'll increase by more rather than less. So maybe make it closer to like 120. Cool, I think I've hit maybe the rate limit, but that happens. Now let's look at how do I now deploy this app to Heroku? What do I need? And so we can just look at all the files. I'll now go to Heroku. I'll log in now, so I'll probably pause the video to log into Heroku and make sure everything is working properly. So we've gotten the Heroku login working after battling a little bit back and forth and creating some accounts, etc. So now we should be able to set up the account. So I've just gone here, and if I follow some of these instructions, we can do Heroku create Duo LLM. And it's creating it there. We'll also then want to create a Git folder for this. So we just do git add, git commit, and we just do init. And here we may also then want to add some packages and everything. And it's also said before that we should also create a proc file. So we create a proc file. Let me just do it here. A proc file. This just has information as to what type of application it is. There we go. And then also a runtime.txt that just says what type of Python version should be run. And if I do Python 3 version, it's 3.1.2.1. So let's try that out. And there we go. So Heroku git push Heroku master, I think it should be. And we need rights to the repository. So I'll have to check. Deploy app Heroku. Okay, so I think here we can just do this, Duo LLM, and then maybe we can do git push Heroku master. There we go. Cool. And master might have changed to main, so that's the only thing caveat you should know. Seems to be uploading all the stuff, which is good. It's compressing the app. Cool, and we should be able to then access it here. It's saying application error, so this stuff always happens. We'll just look at the logs, and it's because I have to set some of the environment variables. So I will pause the video here and set some of those environment variables, but please stay tuned. Hey everyone, welcome back. So what I had to do was just go back into Heroku, click reveal config variables, and then as you've seen in the app.py, I had to set this Mistral API key. So now that should be all working. Let's hit another, let's just do Heroku open, which should open the app. And we see that there's still an error, so we just go here. And we see no web process running, which is strange. So we have to go, maybe it's in the prop file, so maybe Python 3 app.py, but that would be weird. And I'll just do git push Heroku master. But we can maybe insert it here and see what it tells us. There are no web dynos. Okay, so I have to configure a web dyno. So that's pretty much on me. I can scale it using this in the CLI, so maybe I just do that. Couldn't find the process type web. So stay tuned, and I will update this. Sorry, just did some setup, and we actually got a domain for this app. So I'm going to be setting that up now. I believe it's Heroku domain add, and we bought a domain off Namecheap, which is this one. Let's just reload it. Duollm.xyz. So we're going to add that here. And we do it to the Duo app. Domain already added to this app, so that should be done. And now we just have to set up some of the DNS stuff. So I believe it's CNAME that we set up here. And we just do the advanced DNS pieces, and so we should reroute that to be the DNS of the app. We go here, SSL certificates, so here we have the DNS target, which we add to Namecheap. And we do a very short TTL. and other subdomains as well. So we'll make the root one, I believe, is CNAME. I'll just ask here, and I've asked for some LLM domain names here. What CNAME should I use for the root domain? So for example, this for www. So it's important. So you can use an A name. So let's use an A name maybe. I believe it's the same thing as an alias record, and we do the arroba ampersand. Yeah, 1 minute. Cool. Nice. Let's then maybe try this out. I think that should be pretty much it. And then we'd want to configure SSL and maybe an automatic certificate. Cool. So if we go to our Namecheap domain, maybe it takes a little bit to kick in, but it also may not be properly set up yet. So let's follow the rules here as well. Consult your DNS provider. And so if I go here, unable to resolve. So it should just be adding it here. www. It does. Maybe without the dot at the end. Let's just try again. Duo-LLM. Configure SSL. So custom domain names for apps. So we have an example app, uses GNSync. Confirm that you own it. Add through there. Then we can just, maybe do Heroku domains. So a name. Okay. Maybe it takes a while. So, well, a name is a name the same as a record or alias. So alias and then www dot. Should be like that. And so could it be that the site can't be reached? So maybe it takes a little bit of time to kick in. We'll wait a little bit, but maybe it just takes a little bit of time to kick in. But as you can see here, you have the full language app. And so if we do, how are you doing? And then I can change language to Spanish. Where are you from? What did I just say? Repeat what I just said before. What time is it? Cool, so there you go. That's the app, and so there you go. That's the app. Hope you liked it, and let me know if you Hey everyone, how's it going? I bought the domain and it just takes a while to configure. So here you can see the app in action. So we've made Duo LLM, so a Duolingo but LLM, nothing to do with Duolingo, and a language learning companion powered by AI. So I say hi there, how are you? And it should respond in Spanish, ¿Cómo estás? If I go in German and I say, where are you from? Says, hello, I come from Germany, and you? And I say, what did I just say before this message? And I say it in French. Says, hello, what did you just say before this message? So it still needs a little bit of work. We can do a little bit more prompting. So we can just say, be super strict in the prompt to not repeat what I just said. There will be consequences. So I just added something to try and make sure that when the conversation gets too long, that it doesn't interfere. So hi there, repeat what I just said. What did I just send you? Tell me your name. Make it so the screen doesn't jump whenever a new message is received. It should stay off. Okay, let's see. Maybe I say here then, make the top header top margin and header tiny, a bit smaller to give more vertical space for the chat. Make it so the chat history is only, and one thing I want to include here is that the chat history isn't infinite so that my prompt doesn't get super expensive. So make it so the chat history is only a maximum of 7 messages. Also make sure also give an error if an individual message gets too big, saying the message needs to be smaller. also give an error message to the user if an individual message gets too big. So we're just starting to do a couple things that make it a little bit more usable. So that is our index.html. And there we go. Okay, so hi there. And then I'll just put a super long message. And so the maximum message length and I think it might have done it a little bit off. Give a error to the user if an individual message gets too big in characters. Give a bot response message saying the message needs to be smaller. And we want to do this on the back end. And that way we can, it almost is acts a little bit as a rate limiter in that sense. Add some additional rate limiting features to avoid this app getting DDoSed. So maybe we can look at Flask limiter for rate limiting. Okay, so it's quite a good package. There we go. And so it should be available here. And if I do hi, and if I do just a message that has way too many characters, hopefully it tells me that there's some type of rate limit. Yep, so it tells me if there's 500 characters. And then I might put here like display in the front end a message when the rate limit is met. And it's good that I see that here dual LLM.xyz is working. So if I do configure a SSL, hopefully should be verified. And yep, I think it should be okay now. Cool, so it might take a little bit to break in, but that should be pretty much it. And then here, it should return a message when the rate limit is hit, and we'll update index.html. With the up-to-date code. Cool, so if we now restart it and we do H, an error occurred, please try again. So it says I hit the rate limit, which is great, and there we go. A fairly robust, nice application, and if you go to duollm.xyz, you should be able to access this and start your conversations. So I say hi there. In Spanish, in French, I say, how are you? In German, I say, where are you from? What did I just ask you? You asked me, what did I just ask you? And before that, you asked me, where are you from? Perfect. So that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed this video, and keep tuned for more. I actually quite liked how it was before. Let me see if I can get it before. Update the chat interface so it doesn't jump like here it used to be better. And then lastly, I'm going to add some nice animations maybe. So it kind of like goes in cool. And maybe something to make it responsive. Okay, let's try this out. Perfect. So there you go. That should pretty much be good to go. I'll just write here to add a cool animation for when user, a cool yet subtle and modern animation for when messages come in. Also make the container have a slight cool animation on hover. Same with the select button. And then next after this, we want to make it responsive for mobile. Let's try this out. I'm not seeing anything particular. Maybe I have to restart it. Oh, it's in like reverse order though. The messages, I like the animations, but make it so on hover, the container doesn't move, it just has a shadow. Also, the messages are now in reverse order. Fix this. Okay, so we can use this. Let's make sure this is okay. That looks so good. And that's the amazing thing about this LLM kind of assisted workflows. it just ends up looking so much nicer than if I did it myself. So last thing I'm going to say here is, without changing at all the website, the web layout, make this page responsive for mobile and properly usable. So if one check that I can do is I just press Command Shift I, and if we do like the iPhone 14 Pro, it looks like this. Hi there. So that's somewhat responsive already, but let's see if they do any other changes. And hopefully Duo-LLM.xyz is secure by then. If it's not secure, maybe it just takes a little bit of time. And that should be it. Cool, so I'll just refresh that. I'll go here. Hi there. How are you? Yeah, so that layout actually is pretty nice. And if we just do normal way, we can look. What's your name? Cool. That I'm actually fairly proud of. I didn't think we could do in a day or so. I mean, it's amazing how much things have changed, that you can just make an application like this so quickly and so efficiently. So thanks so much for watching. Hopefully that helped. We've made a chatbot that keeps me a bit less bored and I can speak to learn a few more languages. Let me know if you like this. Let me know if you want to see anything else specifically. And yeah, thanks a lot for watching, and have a good rest of the day, everyone.